Can I go back further to the squad? He started today, Jadon Sancho. There's multiple reports saying that he will be sent back to Manchester United, and Chelsea are willing to pay a fee for this. They're willing to pay the penalty, effectively, for sending him back to Manchester United, as opposed to an obligation to buy. What do you make of Sancho and his prospects as a Premier League player? United don't seem to want him. Now Chelsea may or may not want him. Is he a Chelsea player?
You know, that player got the talent. He's a talented player, you know. Everybody know this. But we don't know why he can't perform, he can't show what he can do. And the question is, why? You know, he was at Dortmund, it was magnificent. When he went to Manchester United, you know, didn't work well for him. Came at Chelsea. At the beginning, you know, for me, you know, it was like, okay, I'm going to see that Sancho from Dortmund, and then he disappeared. The problem is, I don't know, but right now, it doesn't look like he can stay at Chelsea, because he has to do more. You have to do more. You know, when you play in the Premier League, you know, you have to play every game in the high level. And David, no. You know, it's not easy. You not play just for a few games and then, you know, chill out. No. No. Look, what I've seen on some players is like this now. You know, some players, they play 2-3 good games and then they disappear for maybe few games and then they come back. No. You have to stay in that level during all the season, and that is the most difficult things to do, especially when you got talent.
Scott, your thoughts on Jadon Sancho?
Yeah, I mean, look, when I know he had disciplinary problems at Dortmund. He had disciplinary problems even at City in terms of just timekeeping.
Or when he was a youngster.
Yeah, when he was a youngster. And Pep didn't like that. He went to Dortmund. I heard his talent was so good and he was so good on the pitch that it was almost overlooked with sort of little things like that. But it is the small detail. You know, the small detail, the discipline of doing it day in, day out, week in, week out, month in, month out. And I remember covering the game, Bournemouth-Chelsea, where he came off the bench and helped Chelsea get a win in the second half. And people were saying, oh, you know, look at United and you know, he's away and he's going to be brilliant at Chelsea. I said, listen, give me 10, 12 games like that first before we start talking Jadon Sancho is back. And we haven't had it. And like William was saying, it's been a couple of decent games here, 5 or so, 6 games here, where there's not been good. There's not that consistency. And I do worry that we're not ever going to see the best of Jadon Sancho.
It looks like he plays within himself. You know, as a winger, you come off the pitch today, you look at what he's done, what skills he's done, how many crosses did he get, how many shots did he have? Sort of come off and didn't really do nothing. He just sort of got the ball and
sauntered about.
Yeah, I think that's saying sort of like relaxing, you know. But he looks like that. Well, he was at Dortmund. He went back to Dortmund, made the Champions League final and did well on loan there. But I don't know, maybe it's the environment or the Premier League. But it's a shame because he's got the talent. He's got so much skill, but it just looks like he doesn't do it out there, you know. It's frustrating.
He's got the skill, but he hasn't got the pace. Now, I played against David Beckham. I marked David Beckham, but you couldn't get close to him. He was so intelligent. If you tried to get tight, he'd play one touch around you. Yeah. If you were just half a yard off him, he'd whip the ball in with those wonderful crosses. And suddenly everyone's saying, stop the cross, Scott. I'm like, I'm trying. I can't. It's David Beckham. You know, but it's not as if Beckham was quick. Yeah, but he was clever. And he was technically brilliant. And Jadon Sancho is not finding a way to get those crosses in that Bence was talking about. That, I mean, Pedro Neto's up front, so he's not Didier Drogba, but you know, he's not even getting the balls. He's not being effective. He's doing a little bit of skill and then he's passing back each time. And from a fullback's point of view, I'd love that all day long.
But as well, did you see him to pass his left back?
Yeah.
No. He didn't do nothing, to be honest.
Challenge.
Yeah, he didn't challenge his left back opponent. You know, always get the ball, as you said, do some skills and pass the ball back. No, we want to see more, especially when you are the winger.
That's why you're captain. Very demanding.
As telling him, mate. You're telling him.
That's why he was a winner.
That's why he was a winner.
Winner mentality.
Indeed. Okay.